Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Chris with the Caffeinated Contractor. This is episode number 25. Today, I'm going to talk about how I built a remote team that runs my business without breaking the bank. So, before I get into that, and if you're watching this on YouTube or maybe an Instagram reel, let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is my black eye. Now, the reason I want to bring that up is because I want you to focus on the content today and not the black eye that I have, and the story is not as exciting as you might think it is. I had a minor surgery on the side of my head, as you can see right here, just to take a little bit of basal cell skin cancer off. Not a huge deal. And because it was so close to my eye, it gave me a nice black eye. And I didn't film content for a week because, well, I didn't want to draw attention to it. But anyway, didn't want to wait too much longer. I wanted to get this episode out. And so now you know why Chris has a black eye today. And it's not because I got into a fight, it's because I had minor surgery. So, got that out of the way. So, let's talk about today's episode. And last week I had mentioned, or the last episode anyway, I had mentioned what my life was like when I first started off. And I think a lot of you are probably in that same boat right now where you're getting inundated with estimates, people asking you to come out and check out their project, and they want you to give them, oh, send me some examples, send me some photos, send me this, send me that. There's a lot of things that that's taking up a lot of your time. And I remember once I was up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes, just trying to get these estimates out because I wanted the work and I didn't want to let people down. And I think a lot of you are probably in that same boat. And I got to a point where my communication was poor because I was going to projects. I was checking projects, making sure the projects were being done. And that to me was priority because I wanted to make sure things were being done and they were being done properly. But what suffered from that was I was not doing my email communication to my clients. I was not responding to them. I wasn't returning texts or phone calls, mainly because I was just bouncing around all over the place. I just didn't have time to just pick up my phone or to send an email, whatever. And because of that, I started to get some complaints. On top of that, I had no idea what my AR was, my accounts receivable. I didn't know how much I should be invoicing. I didn't know how much I owed my subs. So my AR and AP, they were climbing up and I had no idea, mainly because I was doing everything myself. So what I decided to do is sit down one day and I wrote down all the things that I hated to do, all the things that drained my energy. So you know what those are for you. A lot of you don't like accounting, you don't like marketing, you don't like answering phones, email, whatever it might be. All those tasks really drain your energy. And it's not hard to identify what those are. So I wrote all those down. I wrote all the ones I hated doing. And then I wrote down all the ones I was not good at. Maybe I enjoyed doing it, but I knew I had enough self awareness. I just wasn't good with it. And then I identified the ones that did not have to be done locally. If it doesn't require a handshake or someone to actually physically see something, it doesn't necessarily have to be done locally. And so, luckily, within my network of people, specifically Steve Rosenberg and Pete Newbig, I learned from them in my property management days how to leverage remote team workers to scale your business. And the reason why remote team workers is so attractive is because the payroll is not as much as it is here in the US. And that's because um, primarily the cost of living in those areas are lower than where we are now, not because we're taking advantage of people in other countries. So when I'm paying somebody a wage of maybe $10 an hour in a certain location in the world, for them that's a lot of money. As you know, here in the U.S., it's not. And you got taxes on top of that. You have payroll taxes. You have all these different fees on top of what you have to pay your hourly wage for your employee. So as you're a growing business, maybe you can afford one employee and that's all you can afford. And that one employee is overtaxed. They have way too much going on, just like you, and you don't have enough money to hire anyone else. So remote team workers was very attractive to me because I was able to leverage talent outside of the US to help me with my business. So my first hire was an executive assistant. And the reason why I did that, and I recommend this for anyone, if you're going to hire your first remote team member, I highly recommend it be an executive assistant, mainly because an executive assistant is like an extension of you. The executive assistant, whatever it is you're doing, they're going to be doing or helping you do. Correct. So here's what I mean by that. My email. If I'm doing my email, they can be doing my email. So I've gotten to a point now where my executive assistant is monitoring my email for me. Phone calls. We use a voice over IP system where the phone will ring on my phone, but it'll also ring on my assistant's computer. She answers the phones for me. Um, and there's my calendar, she manages my calendar. She makes sure there's no double booking, triple booking, and things like that. She also knows what drains my energy. And if I'm having too many appointments, she knows not to schedule too many appointments at a certain time of the day. So those are just some small examples of what I was able to delegate to my executive assistant to help me out and allow me to free up some of my time, especially on the tasks that drain my energy. And as time went on, I was able to hire an operations manager. At the time, she was an operations manager. She was just operations assistant, I think was what we called it. She helped me out with a lot of the paperwork, gathering paperwork from the subs, sending out contracts, putting together estimates for me in our software that we use, and things like that. And now she's at a point now where I just gather the information, I give it to her, and she magically takes care of it. She talks to the subs, she gathers the information, she puts them into the software that we have. She reaches out to the client, gets the approval, gets the contract signed, gets the subcontractor agreement signed, and then as the project goes on, she gets all the updates. She uploads them to our software, updates the owner, and then when the project is done, we do something called the post-construction inspection. She generates that, sends it out, and it's signed. So all that stuff I do not have to do anymore because I've taught someone in Mexico how to do that for me. And there's other things too. I've got a finance manager who monitors our money in, money out. She monitors our gross profit per project. She helps out with our forecasting. When I have an idea and I know it's going to cost money, I bring it up to her, and she'll do a forecast with our budget and let me know, hey, maybe financially it's not a great idea to do that right now. So she does that for me, and it's great because I'm very weak when it comes to numbers. I just don't like it. It's not fun for me. And she also works hand in hand with our bookkeeper, which is fantastic. And then I also have someone on my team who is very good with systems writing, and she understands the systems and process. She knows how to document it really well, and she's very thorough with it. And she's the one that writes all of our SOPs with everyone's input. So those are just some examples of team members that I have, that anyone else in the trades could actually use the same type of people in their business. So that took me about, say, 4 years to develop that team. So it's not easy. It's not an overnight thing. There's a lot of time you have to spend on Zoom and do some training, create some videos and things like that. But as time goes on, they get to a point where they can actually do the job better than you can. So how did I find my team? Well, you have to identify what tasks you want to delegate. Like I talked about my list that I hated, of the things I hated to do, and things I was not good at. And then finding the right people. Now, where do you find the talent? Well, fortunately, I stumbled across VPM Solutions, and they have tens of thousands of remote team workers around the world on there looking for jobs, and you can hire for short term, long term, whatever it might be. That's where I find my talent. I particularly focus on Mexico, mainly because a lot of them they're for the most part, they're in the same time zone. A lot of these people that I've seen on their videos is that they have lived in the US before, so they understand our culture and their English is pretty good. And for the most part, if they have an accent, in the area, it depends on where you live. Like I live in the Houston area. So in the Houston area, people tend to, are used to the Mexican accent. So it works well for us, and it might be different for anyone else. There's a lot of Philippines, people from the Philippines on there, and I saw some from Pakistan, like all over the place. So wherever you can find good talent, they're there. And then the next thing is, you can have your job description, you can find the talent, But then once you have more than one person, how do they interact? And that's when you come up with your processes, your systems, you develop your SOPs, and that creates, okay, these people, this is how they all interact, and this is how it's going to work. And that allows you to step away from your business a little bit more. Not completely. I'm still in the trenches. I'm still going on sales appointments sometimes. Actually, a lot of times now. I'm still facilitating a lot of the things going on in the business, but for the most part, I'm not in the weeds as much as I used to be. Now, some of the mistakes that you can make is you're desperate and you hire too fast. You're just like, oh wow, they speak really well. Let's just hire them. Well, that's not a good way of doing that, right? So what you want to do is, one, you have to have a good job description. Understand what you want this person to do. Then for me, trying to understand what disc profile this person needs. Disc profile is a personality profile test that people can take really quick, probably 10 minutes. And it really tells you if this person is an extroverted person who likes to go out and talk, but maybe they're not necessarily so good with the details, right? Like salespeople, right? They go out, they like to make the sales, but sometimes on the administrative side, they're not that great, right? Accountants and bookkeepers, they're going to be a strong C, which means that they are very good with the details, right? And they may not be extroverted. So they might be an introverted person who's very good with the details. So you have to understand what type of person you need for that job profile. Um, and then for training, right? So maybe you don't have documented SOPs, but do you have training videos that you made? Like when you're putting together an estimate, make a video of like on Loom or on Google Meet. Make a video. Hey, this is how I create an estimate. I take this and I bring it over here. I put this stuff in here. This is the markup I put up, and these are the things that I click. Make that video, and then when you hire your assistant, their first job is to put that into an SOP format. And then the other thing is, when I talk to people who just hire their first remote team member, they're excited, and I get it. But then I ask them, like, well, how are you going to communicate with them? How often are you going to meet with them? What's your plan to properly onboard this team member? And that is one of those things where, like, oh gosh, I didn't even think of that, right? So you got to properly onboard this team member. You have to be able to have touch points throughout the day, not to micromanage, but just to let them know, like, hey, I appreciate you. You're part of my team. How can I help you out? What you got going on? Just be involved in what they got going on, and it creates a good working environment to where they're like, oh wow, my boss has got my back. I can reach out to them whenever I need support or help or whatever it might be, and you create that atmosphere where they feel comfortable to come to you if they have a problem. And then as time goes on, you have such a great culture, and when you have a great culture, you create loyalty. When you have loyalty, you have team members who don't want to leave. So it's very important that you communicate well, that you have those touch points throughout the day, throughout the week. You have routine meetings, and you're constantly checking in on them to see how they're doing, not seeing what they're doing. That's a big difference. Check in to see how they are doing and how you can help and how you can support them. So that's just a quick story of where I was, where I am now. I still have some more to grow, and I plan on doing that. There's some things that I still want to do, and I'd like to develop more areas in my company where I can bring in remote team members and take that on for me. But I'm the type of person I kind of take on a little bit more than maybe what I should. Um, but anyway, when you bring on a team member and they take away some of these tasks that really drain your energy or suck up your time, it allows you to do a couple of things. It frees up your time to, one, maybe you need to spend more time with the family and you're just not doing that. Two, maybe you're not spending enough time working on your business, right? Or three, maybe there's a passion project that you want to work on that you've been putting off because you're way too busy. So hiring the remote team, training them properly, and getting them to start running the business for you really frees up your time to really allow you to do things that you really want to do. So whenever I meet with contractors and they hear what I've done, or I talk about this and they're like, whoa, what? You can do that? Yeah, you can. And I'm proof. I've been able to do that over the last several years. And that's why I wanted to make this podcast, to really promote this, because I really like to help other people in the trades who are struggling with these administrative tasks. That's not necessary when you can hire someone for 10, 12, $13 an hour, and they can handle these tasks for you, and they could probably, more than likely, do a better job than you can. So if you're at all curious about this, I got a link in the description of this podcast for VPM. You can go on there. You can create a free account. Go on there, check it out, and you can do a search on, like, for example, admin assistant, and you could see, do some filters in there. You can see what kind of people are available for things like that. And when I want to hire someone, I start doing a little searching to see who's out there. I start doing some favorites. And then I start getting excited about, oh, you know what? I got this. I think I'm ready to hire now. And I know I already have 3 people lined up that I really want to see if they're interested in this position. So it's really exciting to do. So you can click on that link, create a free account, and then scroll around and check it out on your own. Or if you're just like overwhelmed with that, or you're just questions about, like, how does this work? If you're afraid of it, I get it. When I first hired my first remote team member, I was a little bit afraid because I wasn't sure. Oh gosh, this person's in a foreign country. Are they going to rob me? They're going to steal my money? Things like that. Common fears. I get it. I overcame them. If you have those, let me know. I can help you out, help you through that. So in order to get in touch with me, you can go on Instagram, the Caffeinated Contractor, and send me a DM. I'd be happy to chat with you. Or you can just put a comment here on the YouTube channel and we'll respond. And if there's anything else, just contact us. We'd love to help you out. But hey, next one, like I said, the first hire I recommend would be your executive assistant. And what I can do is send me a DM on Instagram, and I can send you our job description for my executive assistant. And then next podcast, I'm going to have my executive assistant on here with me, and we're going to talk about our relationship, how we work together, the uniqueness of the remote aspect of it, because she can't be here to collect mail and things like that. So how do we make it work? We've been working together for a good 3 years now, I think it is. It's been going well. And we're going to talk about how we work together and how you can do the same thing for your business. Okay, so stay tuned for episode 26 to talk, or to listen to me interview my executive assistant. And until then, see you later.